I want to say an interesting idea, which many of you may have heard something similar, but it's a good review anyway, with regards to the Parsha of Naso. Now notice we read this Parsha, this weekly reading of Naso. It's the longest reading, and we read it almost always after the holiday of Shavuot. And holiday of Shavuot in many ways represents the Jewish unity. It says Vayichan Yisrael neged Hahar. The Jewish people, it says in singular, not in plural, not Vayachanu, but Vayichan, that the Jewish people were encamped as one nation, one person, near the mountain. And of course, the giving of the Torah is supposed to unite us. Many of the laws of the Torah specifically, and the Torah in general. I mean, what unites the Jewish people in general is only the Torah. We were exiled in all kinds of countries, and we were influenced by many nations among whom we lived. But the Torah is what united us and what made the Jewish people stick together. You know, for instance, a lot of people discuss to what extent the modern Hebrew was a new thing. And in my opinion, the correct approach is that modern Hebrew was not a huge new step, because the Jewish people always spoke Hebrew to a very large extent. And that is, every Jew would teach their children from relatively young age to read the Torah. And the Torah is in Hebrew. And that's why, for instance, a Jew from, per se, Poland would meet a Jew from, let's say, Greece, or a Jew from Yemen. It wasn't very common in those times. People traveled much less than today. But it happened. Once in a while it happened. What do you think they spoke? Obviously, a Jew from Yemen doesn't know Yiddish. So even though most European Jews knew Yiddish, by the way, not all European Jews knew Yiddish. It also was not the only language. There were Italian Jews who knew a different language. There was a Jewish version of Italian, similar to Yiddish. There's a Jewish version of German. There was a French Jewish language at some ancient time. Rashi uses it a lot. So it's not like all European Jews had a common language, but certainly they didn't have a common language with Jews from other countries. So sometimes they would meet, or sometimes they definitely write letters to each other. What do you think they used? Hebrew. There was nothing else. So while it wasn't so much a spoken language, but it was always a very live language. You can compare it to, let's say, Catholics and Latin. The relationship of Catholics to Latin, okay, they have certain prayers in the church in Latin, but I presume that the majority of Catholics do not know Latin. But for us, the Torah is Hebrew, and it's very important to learn the Torah all the time. And that's why everybody prayed in Hebrew and knew Hebrew, and it was a language that was, of course, it needed certain new words. The modern Hebrew was able to unify things like spelling of the word coffee, or how to call oranges. For instance, the idea was to take a biblical word tapuach, which is an apple, and call it a golden apple. In Hebrew, in the modern Hebrew, orange is golden apple. But let's say 300 years ago, if a person wanted to say orange, it depended on the country he was in. A lot of times they used all kinds of local words or whatever. So the language we all had was lacking certain new words that was needed for certain flora, fauna, certain other concepts, modern concepts, certainly computer, a car. But the vast majority of words were the same, and the Jews could communicate with each other for the most part. So that's why I'm saying that, the Torah united the Jewish people forever and ever. And when we read the Parshat Naso, we see this example of not competing with each other, of being together par excellence. In what sense? That is, why is this Parsha so long? Why is this weekly reading the longest? So at the end of the Parsha, we have 12 Nesiim, 12 princes, one from each tribe, that represented his tribe, and they brought a certain offering to Hashem. And each and every one of them brought exactly the same offering. I've seen a comparison to, let's say, a lot of bar mitzvahs that are scheduled. Imagine there are a number of bar mitzvahs scheduled every day of the month. The synagogue is big, there's on the first day of the month, Moshe is becoming 13, and on the second day of the month, Shmuel is becoming 13, etc. And what might happen is that each next one will want to make a bigger bar mitzvah and will offer more in order to show that he has more money, he's more important. He wants to show off. So instead, what happened was, let's say in the synagogue, the second person thought to himself, I don't want to embarrass the first person. Whatever he had on his bar mitzvah, that's exactly what I'm going to have. And then the third person did the same, and then the fourth person did the same. And so the whole month they had bar mitzvahs that were exactly the same. So nobody got embarrassed, everybody was together, and it was all with great intent. This togetherness, the spirit of not trying to compete against each other. So this is exactly what happened. Each Nasi brought exactly what the previous Nasi brought. They may have had different things they were thinking about. There's midrashim who bring various ideas why it was, this particular offering and what it represented for each Nasi. But in the end of the day, they all brought exactly the same thing. And that's why the Torah did not save on space, as the Chofetz Chaim says, right? In a different place, Nesiim, the princess brought precious stones that were needed as donation for the Choshen Mishpat, whatever the high priest would wear on his breast. So those stones were donated by the Nesiim, but the Torah kind of says it, even the word Nesiim, it says without the Yuds, it kind of makes it a short form of writing to show that these Nesiim, they were not trying to do good. In the contrary, they were trying to show off. They wanted to show that they will donate whatever the rest of the Jewish people will not bring. At first they thought that the Jewish people will only give a little bit and then they will cover the rest of the costs, and everybody would say, oh, see, the temple was built mostly from the donations of Nesiim. In the end of the day, the Jewish people brought enough of everything else, and Nesiim only were left to bring the stones. So since they weren't working the Shem Shamayim for the sake of Hashem, instead they were just trying to show off, so the Torah wrote even the word Nesiim in a short form. That's a well-known midrash of Chazal. So the Chofetz Chaim used to say, look at the difference. When the Nesiim just wanted to show off, the Torah even saved on the letters in the word Nesiim. When the Nesiim were trying to do the right thing and did it L'Shem Shamayim, then the Torah did not save on space and wrote each Nasi separately. It could have just written that all 12 Nesiim wrote exactly the same thing. Instead, the Torah says on the first day it was such and such, right? Nachshon ben Aminadav, and he brought such and such. And then on the second day it was Netanel ben Suar, right? Etc., etc. Each one brought exactly the same thing, but the Torah spends all this extra time, or all this extra space, takes a whole parsha, right? It makes a very long parsha, just in order to show this beautiful idea. How important is the unity, not competing, trying to do things L'Shem Shamayim. Maybe we all Zoche, maybe we'll merit that we will still love each other and have shalom, peace between each other, and that all our deeds will be L'Shem Shamayim for the sake of heaven.